Namaste, yogis. This is Adrian with How Yoga Changed My Life, a podcast. Today, I am very excited to be joined by a neighboring town member, Erin. And I say your last name, Gámez, correct?
You got it. Yes.
Awesome. So you are down in Brownsville, Texas, my dear, right?
Yes, we are as south goes, the southernmost tip of Texas, right before you hit northern Mexico.
Wow. How far away is that from San Antonio?
So in a car, it's a solid 4-hour drive.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's like a weekend trip.
Yes, and I do love to do it often. I
Nice.
love San Antonio. It's like bigger Brownsville.
Yeah, it's a great town. It really is. Considering it's a pretty large city from a populous standpoint, it's pretty spread out, but I really enjoy it.
I totally agree. The people are so wonderful. The culture is so vibrant. Everyone is nice.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful, beautiful part of Texas.
I really like it a lot. So, are you from Brownsville?
Born and raised. My whole family's here. Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. So, tell us a little bit about you, Erin. Just kind of give our listeners a little peek at who Erin is.
Absolutely. So, like I said, born and raised in Brownsville, Texas. I grew up always wanting to be an attorney, so I got to law school as fast as I could. Went to UT undergrad. Actually, took a little pit stop while I was in UT. Fun fact: walked onto the rowing team there, and we won Big 12 in 2009. So that was just
Stop.
a really cool random,
Wait,
you
did
know,
you row
random fact.
before? Is there water in Brownsville?
That's the number one question we get, followed by a slew of inappropriate jokes. But yeah, we did not row in Brownsville. There are no large bodies of water down here to practice to learn to do that. But I was always part of team sports, loved being on basketball, track, cross country, all the fun things. So when I got to UT and one of the largest universities in the United States, you feel so small for the
Mm.
first time and you're searching for community and trying to find things that are familiar to you. And so I was like, I'm too short to walk onto the basketball team, did it and just kind of like went through process of elimination. And it was one of those, really classic days where we're walking down the quad and somebody goes, "Hey, do you want to come try this out?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" Like I have nothing to lose. And that was the beginning of the end right there. Like I learned to do it, love the two-a-days, love the team environment. It
Mm.
ended up being a really beautiful part of my undergrad experience and something that I'll take with me forever and encourage everyone to do and just never forget.
That's very, very cool, especially to pick up
Yeah.
a brand new sport in college of all things.
It was great. It was great. And I'm still to this day like wonderful friends with all those girls. Our team is still very much a team, and we've all gone out to like different parts of the United States and everyone's doing incredible things. We still meet up every once in a while. It's fantastic. It
That's
really is.
amazing. I mean, I think that's really cool about team sports, right? Is that especially for women, right? A lot of
Yeah.
growing up, team sports for me were, mostly men. We did have female sports, obviously. I mean, I'm not that old, but,
Right.
it's also something that's said about, having that competitive nature, but doing it as a group of women together.
Absolutely. And I'm so grateful for, the light that it's 2025. And I think female sports are starting to, for the first time, get the light that they deserve, the attention that they deserve. And it's really a beautiful thing to watch.
It is for sure. So tell us, I'd love to talk more about rowing, but this is a yoga podcast.
Wrong podcast.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll save that for the rowing podcast. But I do think it's really interesting that you were brave enough, number one, to be at a big school, to try something brand new, a sport, and something that's super competitive too.
Absolutely. So then after that, like I said, I got back on track and went to law school. In between then, actually, I graduated a little bit early from UT. I worked a session at the legislature, and so that will all come full circle in a minute. But I loved it. I worked with a small, mom and pop lobby firm at the time and advocated for some really cool things.
Wow.
And I had worked a session before then with our then state representative Renee Oliveda, so I'd gotten to work both sides of the set of the ledge, worked with a member and then worked outside on the advocacy side, loved both of it. Went to law school, graduated from law school when I was 24 years old
Whoa.
and came back home. Had been gone for like approximately 10 years and came back home to our very beautiful small town in Brownsville. Even though it had changed a whole lot, it still felt like a massive change for me coming back from from Austin and then Houston, where I went to law school.
Mm. What was
And so
different? What was the kind of the change from when you were there first to 10 years later?
there was a lot of growth, a lot of economic development, a lot of interest. The cost of living was still really, really wonderful, and you got that small town vibe with strong community roots. But
Mm.
you really felt like you're at a turning point of, okay, something really big and really beautiful is about to happen in Brownsville. When seeing the attraction that we were getting from manufacturing companies, seeing from what's going on. Our port is one of the largest ports in the United States, so
Wow.
we're just a tremendous hub for, like I said, economic development and needing to feed a workforce
Mm.
that is the backbone of our community. So I
Absolutely.
really love that. I wanted to come back and be a part of it. My goal was always to come back and practice law with my father. He'd been an attorney for over, oh my gosh, my entire life, like over 50 years now. And I wanted to try cases with him. I said
Yeah.
I could stay in Houston, I could stay in Austin and be in a big firm, and I'll probably never see the inside of a courtroom. But coming home, one of my first cases that I tried with him, it was a capital murder case. And I was 24 years old.
Stop. Holy
And
crap. You gotta, okay, I gotta like hear. So this is not a true crime podcast either, but I'm kind of a little bit like, I find just the, true crime or all of these cases just
oh, it's
unbelievable.
fascinating.
That was your first case? Holy crap. How scared were you?
Oh, it was, one of those defining moments in your life where you're sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, I have to do opening statements. I have to close, uninterruptedly for 45 minutes
Mm.
here, 45 minutes there." And you can feel your whole heart in your chest, in
Mm.
your head, and you have to find a way to come back into your body. And I guess that's where we'll segue into the yoga. But
Yes.
so for
Amazing. That's a great segue, though. Great segue.
So yeah, but when I first started doing it, I had not yet started the practice of yoga. And so I found myself for the first time in life doing these very big things,
Mm.
out of body experience things. And I guess as a young female, we're constantly experiencing and battling with imposter syndrome and battling with, there's no one else, for example, at the time, not a whole lot of other females in the criminal law field.
Mhm.
We're doing quote unquote big things, and we can. And my brain knows that we can, but I have to convince my body that I can too.
Mhm.
And so we're learning to deal with that stress and still being very young, going, how do I handle this? And there's all types of recreational things that people can partake in that will allow you to stray from what's
Mhm.
true and what's right, and you
Right.
see them as stress relief, but that's not really addressing the issue. That's not making me stronger in my body. And for the first time, I think somebody invited me to a yoga class in Brownsville, and that also wasn't yoga wasn't a really big thing, over 10 years ago, because it was considered like foofy or
Yeah.
too spiritual. That's not really a workout. That's not really, you're and I think the people that say that, like, really have never tried yoga. Like, you
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was that guy going, "Oh, no, that's not really a workout." Like, I'm
Mhm.
used to killing myself in the gym and, like, hitting it hard, lifting big weights, but that's not it is such a different respect
It's
from
so
your body
interesting.
to the mat.
Yeah. Like you said too, it's like, people deal with stress by adding things, right? Whatever it is to try to calm their nervous system down. But
Yeah.
really, it's not about adding anything to your body. It's about getting inside your body, tapping in and understanding it better, you know?
Amen. And
And
so
nobody
for the
knows.
first Yeah, no, until you try it,
Hmm.
it is such a daunting and amazing task to be alone with your thoughts for 90 minutes.
It is.
Like, it really is it is an exercise, it is a practice, it's grueling.
Hmm.
And that on top of, my favorite is you're in a heated sauna, like in a room that is can reach temperatures of 101 degrees.
Hmm.
It is unforgiving,
It
and
is.
it is just you, and we are all the same. Like, it is a great equalizer. We're all the same on that mat, just doing our best to be in our bodies.
Absolutely. And I think too, like going back to what you said about, getting this first case with your dad and having it be a capital murder case and you're 24 years old, right? And like think about what our kids are learning in school, what we learned in school, right? We learned how to read, we learned how to write, do math and history, but no one sat us down and said, here's how you breathe to regulate your nervous system.
Wow.
Here's how your muscles actually move and help you be safe with your bones and your joints for yourself. Right. We're just giving these images of people, whether it's online or in books or even in, competitive sports. We're looking at other people to try to emulate them in our own body, which is like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't work. But the tools of
Absolutely.
yoga, right? They're there. And that's how you get to know yourself. And I feel like, I'm also a trainer, so a personal trainer, and I do Pilates and gyrotonics, so a lot of different modalities of movement. And I find that many of my clients, I literally have to teach them how to breathe because they
It
don't know.
you are so right. It is such an underrated, it's almost like a secret weapon that no one knows about,
Hmm.
because we've never shared this. Because it sounds so natural. Like, of course, you just breathe. No, but it's so much more than that.
It really is.
When all of a sudden, for the first time in your life, you're feeling yourself in these incredible stressful situations and going, okay, how am I going to handle this? Because nothing thus far has prepared me to do this. I don't know how to control my heart rate. I
Yeah.
don't know how to control, oh my gosh, I haven't taken a breath in a minute.
Right.
And now I feel like my head is hurting or my chest is hurting and we don't know why.
Mhm.
And our body is just taking over our mind and
Yeah.
going, if you don't fix this, I will.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you know
Totally.
and we take that for granted, and I think sometimes in our Hispanic culture, like, we just are taught and learn to push it down. We
Mhm.
don't take time to really take care of ourselves and sit down and talk it out or sit down and meditate. But I realized really quickly, if I wanted to continue in this practice, in this field, that I needed to do something a little different than, what we'd seen in the past, and that I needed to take time to forcibly tune in to myself. And so I didn't, I love the flow. I love the vinyasa. I love the slow, elongated poses and things, because that's so different than anything else at the time that I was experiencing in life.
Mm. Mhm.
And so started doing it once a week, turning it into 3 times a week, and going, "Oh my gosh, I'm a different human being
Right.
when I do this, because I can give a different energy to the world when I do this. I can show up differently for my clients when I do this, because I'm tuned into myself." There's a lot of,
Yeah.
like, what's called secondhand trauma that we experience in, I guess, the legal field, which means, something traumatic is happening outside of you. It's happening to somebody, but because we listen to it so frequently, we internalize it. And so
Right.
there's I'm sure there's a multitude of professions like that experience this secondhand trauma. And if we don't find ways to deal with it, like, it will consume you.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point because, when you are in any field where you're dealing with other people and their trauma, their emotional issues, their physical issues, whatever it may be, or whatever's happening in their life, right? From a lawyer perspective, like you're hearing the down and dirty, really detailed stuff that, even if you read about it somewhere else, you may not know it to the degree that you do as a lawyer and representing someone. So I can't even imagine like, the amount of stuff, that energy that gets stuck, right? That you has a hard time. I mean, even silly things like being a trainer and having one-on-ones with clients on a daily basis. I'll walk out of a session sometimes and I'll feel like really heavy, like,
Heavy.
yeah, like this like heavy energy. And I'm like irritated and feeling just very, you know, heavy. I don't know another word to say, but
You did the work. You
yeah.
absorbed that energy.
Yes. And I mean, I know you said it too, right? Like yoga can be a little woo-woo-y, but energy is science, right? And energy is something that is felt and it's not seen, and it's, around us, and we emit energy, and energy transmutes and transforms. So when you're with other people and they do have things that kind of are energetically released into the area that you're in, you can get
Oh,
it stuck, right?
oh yeah, absolutely. I always, I guess, refer to when I talk to my clients about it, or young people that I'm trying to help navigate through things, I'm like, it's the ripple effect of
Hmm.
either dealing with our trauma or not dealing with our trauma.
Yeah.
One way or another, like the little stone that you throw is going to affect the world in ways that you cannot imagine,
Mm,
are coming. And I
yes.
hope that it's in a good way. I hope that it's because we have healed something in ourselves that we don't realize is going to heal someone 2 generations from now. Is it
Absolutely.
and I'm constantly, whether I'm talking about that in my public service or in dealing with our mental health community, like the people, the time that we take to stop to heal that is like you can't quantify it
Mm-mm.
in dollars and cents or time. It's energy.
It is. It is. I mean, I really feel like, most of us are either a message or a warning, right? We're either
That's
walking around
real.
as a message or a warning, and it's
That's
kind of
so
up to you.
appropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said that you tried your first yoga class and that, you kept going back like once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week. Um, I want to know because moving from different cities, like I've been in San Antonio now a little over 5 years, about 5.5 years now, and moving from Chicago, where yoga is a very big,
Yeah.
popular, movement. And when I moved down to San Antonio, it didn't seem to be that prevalent. And then I'm wondering, now you go another 4 hours south to Brownsville. What are you seeing as far as like yoga availability in your community, or how has that grown, or has it grown?
I think you are right, and that the further south you go, again, I think just culturally, we are less exposed to this practice, but it's definitely on the rise. Like we have a really beautiful, dedicated community down here. A small group of yogis that have never uh, deviated from the practice, who in their love and light invite others to come, and it's starting to become a really really cool big community. I love it. I even just being gone one session, I come back, 8 months later and see a ton of new faces. I love seeing that now Gen Z is coming and getting involved in this and putting it on the internet and on the gram. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden it's like super trendy and cool. And that's awesome to see, because
Mhm.
it is, I don't care how you get the word out. I don't care if it's in a reel or in an email, like get the word out, because
Absolutely.
it is transformative. It will help our community. And I feel like our kids, next generation in particular, like needs so much to
Mhm.
disconnect and connect. So
Absolutely.
whatever we can do to, I mean, to get them involved in this, I wish we could take it to high school. I wish we
Yeah,
could teach our seniors to do this right now, because I'm fearful for how hard it is going to be for this next generation
me too.
to disconnect and connect.
Yeah. I have two daughters. They're 16, excuse me, and 19. And
Beautiful.
they're great kids, and they have a little bit of their own yoga practice. But both of them have kind of seen me do it, and I've tried not to push them into doing any of it, and just been like modeling behavior that I enjoy to do. And my oldest daughter is kind of one of the inspirations for why I started in my yoga journey as teaching. And when I lived in Chicago, taught in a lot of schools up in my area where I lived, and we would do after school yoga programs.
Wow.
And we did it so that it was a small fee that the parents had to pay. And it was 6 sessions. So once a week for an hour after school. We brought our own yoga mats in, all of our own supplies in. You should have seen me. I looked like a Sherpa, like I had my little wagon and, 30 little kid yoga mats and scarves and oils and singing bowls and crafts. I mean, we had a ball, but we did it in elementary schools, middle schools, and we went into high schools as well. And I'll tell you, the most fulfilling classes I've taught have been to kids, because they're the most malleable, they're the most open. They don't have a whole lot of judgments against
Oh yeah.
quasi woo woo stuff, right?
Yeah, they're
And
not fighting that front
yeah,
stage, backstage personality. They're just like, hey, this feels good. Yeah.
exactly. And everybody can do it, right? Like it's not a movement practice that is inaccessible for anyone, even if you have no arms, no legs, right? Like you can still practice yoga, you can breathe, you can meditate. There's so many different things that you can do. And I feel like it's this huge, amazing toolbox that we would definitely do a disservice if we just sat on our own and didn't share it with others.
I completely agree. And I think we teach them at a young age to incorporate this. Like as most, Eastern countries do this,
Hmm.
but we need to implement this into the practice of just normalcy in our youth because right now more than ever, like the world needs people to tune into themselves, their
Hmm.
bodies, their inner knowing, and I don't know how else right now in this day and age we're going to find the truth.
No.
If we don't start to turn inward.
Yeah. That to me is the biggest thing. It's we've been, one of my favorite authors is Ram Dass. Like I love Ram Dass's work, and he's a philosopher, kind of like a more modern thinker. And one of his books that I read, I think it was Becoming Nobody. And he started off by talking about like you're in a spacesuit, like you're born in this suit, and everyone's walking around in these cool suits, and people look at you and go, "Wow, you got a nice suit. I like your suit." It's like, I don't really like my suit. My suit doesn't fit me right. It's a little scratchy. It's a little itchy. It's a little too big. It's a little too tight. Right. And it's like the perception is that I look good, right? My suit is perfect. My suit fits the environment that I'm in, but yet
Wow.
it's just a cover,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. And that's really difficult. Like it will take most of us our entire lives to
Hmm.
push and pull with that
Yes,
debate, that struggle. And I totally agree. I think that's where a
absolutely.
lot of the pain comes from
And
in
totally,
life.
absolutely. And like, you know, ego has a lot to do with it, right? We all have our egos. We need to have our egos for survival, right? We need to be able to have them. And I get it. And it's more about being open to the fact that just because we look different, we live in different areas, we've had different experiences, it doesn't mean that what's happened to you is any worse than what's happened to me, vice versa. We all have our own unique experiences, and to be open to others and empathetic and compassionate and caring, right? And being open to be vulnerable to others, to let them know like, hey, I went through something. I can't compare it to yours, but I have had similar feelings, right? And feelings are just feelings. They come and go. They're not who you are.
Absolutely. And that is something that I love like and cherish about the practice of yoga is that it is so grounding in the fact that we are all in this universal experience together. There's
Hmm.
nothing that my neighbor does that doesn't affect me. There's nothing that I do that doesn't affect my neighbor. And again, in this time of history, that's so important to me. And it's a practice of mindfulness that I try to implement every day and that I try to implement and discuss with my peers to the extent that, they are also present in this. And
Yeah,
it's just so wonderful. I wish more of my peers practiced yoga
right.
because it would be such a beautiful experience.
Well, and I'm sure, like I always tell people, and some people will disagree, but I'm like, yoga makes you a little bit nicer, whether it's nicer to yourself or nicer to others, but it at least gives you a space where you don't have to feel anything but your breath and your body, you
And
know?
that in and of itself is an exercise. Is so hard. When we
Hmm.
finally make the time to put all the appointments in order in your day to make space for that, that those 90 minutes, that hour at the end of your day, or whether it's at 5:30 in the morning, whenever you make space to do it and you get there and you say, okay, I deserve this time. Like this time is not a waste of time. It's an investment in the rest of my week, in my body. And you force your brain to tune out all the noise, everything else that's going on around you, and say, I am just going to be here in me, in this ache in my thigh, in this ache in my shoulder, whatever it is, and focus on that, on releasing that and giving myself permission to letting that go. It's transformative. It's the difference in night and day. It's the difference in the smile that I show up with, like I said, to my clients, to the judge, to whoever it is, whether I'm on the legislative house floor, wherever it is. It's the good that we're trying to put out into the world. But it only happens when we make that investment in that quiet time with ourselves.
Yeah. So you were saying like, I wish more of my colleagues would be practicing yogis too.
Oh
What
yeah.
is kind of the impression with your colleagues about yoga and kind of your relationship with it? Like, I know it's hard for me. I always find myself like, early on in my career specifically trying to push yoga on everyone. Have you tried yoga? Have you tried yoga? You should try yoga. You wouldn't be so mean to me if you tried yoga, like all these things. And it's like, you'd be nicer. But what are you seeing kind of in your world, in the courtroom, on the legislative floor?
It's still very much a journey. We're still very much breaking stereotypes and breaking, oh no, again, the that's not really a workout, the stigma of that's foofy. And I do see women coming around more willing to do it because there's that lack of ego.
Hmm.
But I'm really trying to get my male colleagues on the train, really trying to get them to go, listen, we don't you can go hit the bench, but this is a different way to work out your body. You I promise you, like, there will come a pain that you
Hmm.
will not know that you experienced. But it's still very much a work in progress, and I
What are
don't know, if
some
you figure
things?
out the key to get them in there, you let me
I
know.
know. So have you tried anything? Like, have you tried to like run a little yoga class during the work week or a meditation or breath work or anything like that?
Oh my gosh, I've invited a ton of my friends with me to come, and some have, and when they do, they love it. They wanna come back, but I'm like, "Hey, that's your journey. I need
Hmm.
you gotta make it a part of you. You can love it. I can lead you to water, but you've gotta make it
Yeah,
a part of your practice." We've
totally.
tried to get little morning sessions together, outside the chamber. It's been wonderful. It's just starting the conversation. It is a work in progress.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, I got to hand it to you because I encounter it a lot. A lot of people will be like, as soon as you say, like, well, I teach yoga. Oh, I'm not flexible. I don't do
Yeah,
yoga.
that's the
Or
number one.
the number one thing, right? Or I can't sit still, right? It's like, no, you can't because you just said you can't do it. But so you probably won't ever be able to do it because you've already limited yourself. So get out of that mindset. You might not be able to do it yet, but I bet you if you come and you keep coming, you'll get something. So tell me a
It's
little bit
different
about
every time.
what'd you say? I'm sorry, I interrupted
It's
you.
No, it's you're right. It's different every time. I'm a
Hmm.
different person at the beginning of class than I'm at the end of class.
Oh
Some
yeah.
days I start off not being able to touch my toes. Like I'm like, this is as far as our body's gonna go today, guys. This
Hmm.
just is what it is. But I'm glad I came.
Yeah.
And by the end of class, I'm always a little different.
Yes. Absolutely.
It's great.
So tell me a little bit about kind of like you started your yoga journey, you started coming more often. What or when or how or what was that you noticed a change off of your mat?
I I don't know if it was right after COVID, I started experiencing, which I'm sure thousands upon thousands of people did, a different level of anxiety
Mm.
in my public speaking, in my debate skills, and like an inner lack of lack of clarity or just being unsure of myself that I never felt before.
Wow.
I don't know what that was a product of, but I do know, like, I can directly trace it to post COVID. Going, I do not feel the same in
Mm.
my body. And maybe it was, just coming out of the isolation, coming out and the anxiety of the unknown,
Hmm.
but going, okay, what do we do to get back on track? And thinking, how do I come back into my body? And really starting to, this is, I don't know if this is going to sound weird, but like focus on my breath work while monitoring my heart rate
Hmm.
and looking at my heart rate while I'm working out, going, okay, this is what my resting heart rate feels like, in the high 40s. This is what it starts to feel like when it's in the 90s. Okay, this is what and looking at my heart rate and going, I'm working out and I still feel good. I can still think through all my thoughts logically. I can still process and telling my brain and really training my body going, just because you're sitting down in a chair about to speak publicly, does and you feel your heart rate, I could start to identify, okay, I remember what this feels like. And I was still totally fine and totally cool. And I could recite the Pledge of Allegiance or whatever, speech I was working through at the time. And if without that practice, like without the meditative practice of getting my heart rate up, recognizing what I felt like in my body at that heart rate, I would not have been able to perform publicly. There's no way. And that was just a form of training that I did on a daily basis to try to bring myself back to normal operating levels. I did that for
Um,
almost 2 years. And it was like, you're just completely avoiding an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
I could see it, recognize that feeling and go, I'm at home here. I know my body is fine because it's all mental
Hmm.
until you calm down, until all the things we've taught ourselves, right? We learn in class, like breathe so deeply that your chest touches the opposite end of the room. Feel your back, breathe so deeply that you touch the opposite end of the room. Take up space, like you are big in your body.
Hmm.
And the mental clarity and peace from that, like that's the secret weapon. That's the
Hmm.
difference between you and the person who doesn't know, what's going on, because there's no way you can focus on what's going on in the rest of the room when you're not okay inside.
I love how you talked about your heart rate and your breath like that. It brought me back to the first time I got my Apple Watch. Okay. And remember, like on the Apple Watch, you can set it so that it'll say, like, take a moment to breathe and
Yeah.
it'll remind you. And I remember like watching the circle, get bigger and get smaller for each breath that you would time it out to be, or however long you were breathing. And I did very similar things where I would watch my heart rate. And then I would challenge myself with the skills that I learned through yoga by saying, okay, like go take a really fast little brisk walk or do a bunch of chaturangas or get your heart rate
Yeah.
up really
Get your
fast, right? And then sit and take the longest exhales and take shorter inhales and watch your heart rate drop in a way that you've never been able to do it before because you're focused on regulating your own systems,
It's
right?
like magic.
It is. It
It's
is.
incredible.
It is. Well, and it's also like, I mean, think about it. You get in behind the wheel of a car. You can't drive the car if there's no oil and gas in it. If the battery's not working, if there's not water, all of these things help to make the car work. And you learned how to drive the car. You took the driver's lessons. You got your hours behind the wheel. You even took a big test, right? And now you're behind the wheel of this massive machine that is a killer on the roads. And your body should be treated similarly. You need to learn how to operate it so you can show up as the best version of you, the fanciest, shiniest version of you.
Absolutely. And that's what the practice brings to us. And I
Absolutely.
love it. I wish we could show it to everyone.
I know. So when you practiced it, now I know you have to leave for session. I don't know how long sessions are. I'm not that good with all of the other stuff that's not like I sold beer for a living before I was a yoga teacher. So like my skill sets are not that strong outside of those two things.
It's
Um,
also a service. You're also doing a
yeah,
service.
exactly. Both ways. Whether it's tapping a keg or putting a prop by your mat.
It's awesome.
So when you're out of town, how do you practice? Where do you find time?
It is very hard. That is a great question. So session is every other year, right? We meet biannually for approximately 6 months,
Wow.
January through June. The first 3 months are not so bad, right? Like I can still find time to get my practice in about 3 times a week. But towards the last 90 days, when we're just in an all-out sprint to try to do, the people's business and get past thousands of bills, we start staying on the floor until 3 a.m. at night, multiple times a week and coming back in at 8 a.m. in the morning every day. It becomes excruciating on your body.
Mm.
I worry for some of my older colleagues who, are the deans who've been there forever and ever. And I'm going, man, I'm 35 and I feel wrecked from this. And so I would constantly try to find ways to, do I don't just elongate my spine,
Hmm.
like bend over, do something to get the quads activated.
Hmm.
Because if not, you're perpetually seated. A ton of my friends
Oof.
experiencing sciatica like they never have before in their life. And so we have to really, really be mindful of, okay, have I been sitting down for an hour? I need to get up and take a lap. I
Hmm.
need to walk around. I cannot be in high heels all day.
Oh
And
my
then
God. No.
the boots, I'm in boots as much as
Yeah.
possible, but even that's hard on your back, right?
Oh, for
And
sure. I mean, I can't even imagine having to sit. I can't sit. Like I'm a mover, I'm like a little squirrel. So for me, like sitting for a long time in in a place of work like that would really test my patience. Is it appropriate or allowed during the session to stand up and move around, or do you have to like stay seated the whole time?
When we're on the floor, we absolutely can get up and walk around, as long as you're not, strictly enforced to be at your desk.
Mm.
The majority of the time, we can get up and walk around. It's highly encouraged, and also we're socializing, right? Like it's the camaraderie on the floor. It's saying hi to your neighbor. It's seeing how can I help you with your piece of legislation, or hey, I need help with this on mine. We get a lot of our FaceTime in on the floor. When we're in committee, that's a little bit harder, right? Because we're just, for example, those 12 people on the dais that you drove 6 hours up to come testify to us about. Well, I want to be there. I want to be planted in my seat and I want to listen to you.
Yeah.
So that,
Yeah.
and you try to give the public as much of, physical respect that you can
Yeah.
to be physically present. But I found myself doing a lot of really funny stretches in between, and people going, "What are you doing, Gamez?"
Mhm.
And me going, I'm sorry, like I have to lay this weird way on your couch
Yeah.
because I have to release the pressure in my lower spine." I remember somebody was like, "Dude, what is she doing?" And it was probably like 2 o'clock in the morning at one point, and I just had to really try to pop my back.
Mhm.
And one of my friends was like, "Oh, she does that all over the building. Like it's fine. She's fine. She's just being weird."
I'm
And
telling
I'm
you though,
like,
I mean, I think about it in the sense of if I were on that floor or if I had any responsibility on the floor and I could say something, I'd be like, okay, it's a yoga break. It's a breath break. Get up and move
everybody
around.
do a downward dog.
Yes.
Like, yes.
Throw your legs up the wall, right? Like calm down, throw your legs up the wall, move a little bit, stretch, I mean, I could not. And you're representing your area, your hometown,
Yeah.
your state. And so it's curious to me to see how could this workforce do a little better by adding in those mindfulness breaks or movement breaks or something. Do they do anything like that for you? Like, is it like every day you have an agenda and it's like you're saying going till 3 o'clock in the morning? I mean, geez, I'd be annoyed. But how do you handle those days? Like, where do you find the time to ground, or how do you ground in those kind of situations?
It's very hard. It's very hard. I know they offer, moments of, I guess, hours of prayer beforehand sometimes, which are really beautiful and wonderful. It's just sometimes I need that movement in
Yeah.
there as well. And my, friends and I would find time to say, okay, we're going to put on our tennis shoes and we're going to go outside and take like 3 loops
Hmm.
around the building. We
Yeah.
had to find ways to get outside and move. And it gets
Yes.
really hard on you. I guess we really take for granted what it feels like to not be outside,
Yes.
for several days a week.
Hmm. No,
So just go outside and take a walk and be mindful and
mm,
see the trees is just so nice.
it's so important to get outside to ground yourself. If you're in a situation where you can't go to a yoga class or you can't go work out, like just go out, stand outside, walk outside, be outside in nature is such a grounding and nervous system regulating tool that is free. It's free. Just open the door, walk outside.
So I hope that answered your question, but I mean, it was find the little joys outside where we could, the little moments of
Mm,
mindfulness and of peace and quiet outside when we could take a break, when there was a point of order and we knew we weren't going to be back on the floor for another 20 minutes.
yeah.
Okay, let's go take a lap. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
We- you have to force the time. You
Well, and
really
it's
do.
good. You said you've got your friends too, right? So you've got your tribe, you've got your people that are there with you and have that like-mindedness with you. I mean, that to me is setting an example for others to say like, hey, it doesn't have to be this terrible on your body.
No, no, absolutely not. And I think again, yoga brings that tribe mentality of if I'm not alone in this, I
Hmm.
have my buddies in here. I am it's the road is what is it? It's not as long when you're walking it with a friend.
No,
And
for
that is
sure.
so true. I
Hmm.
think as adults, sometimes it's hard for us to say, I'm in this alone or it's just me against the world. Like, no, it's not. There are other people, I promise,
Yeah,
who feel the same way as you, who are struggling with the same issues as you. They just need, you to come out and say it and say, "Hey,
absolutely.
let's go for a walk."
Hmm. And it's just, I feel like too, what we can do as yogis is really be a be that kind of flashlight, right? Being like, hey, look over here. I've been down this path before. Here's an opportunity for you to try this. I've tried this before. This worked for me. It might not work for you. Try it on, see if it fits. Feedback is always something that's subjective, but it's good to be able to have people around you that you can share experiences with and help each other, support each other.
Absolutely. That positive, we have to push outward that positive self-talk because
Absolutely.
you can easily, if the person next to you, or what is it in when I talk to, I guess, give my high school speeches, I really focus on the concept of like drishti, the concept of
Mm,
focus on a spot and find somewhere. And if you can't, if you realize real quick, if you cannot find a spot to focus on to capture your gaze, there's a slew of poses that you're not going to be able to do because you can't balance.
mhm,
You just can't keep your balance. And it's the same thing in life. If you find a group of people who are positive, motivated, and wanting to do good in the world, that's naturally the way your body is going to balance. But if
mm,
you find a group of friends who is, more inclined to be on a downward spiral,
yeah.
that's more where your body's going to go. So when I talk to
Absolutely.
kids,
Yes.
I tell them that the concepts in yoga apply in every aspect of life. Like find your drishti, find where's your gaze going to go, and do not lose that in
Mhm.
life,
Mm.
and be that for somebody else.
Ooh, I just got goosebumps. That was so good. I love that so much. Sorry. Um,
I'm telling you, the best stuff comes to me when you are quiet, when you are focused inward in these
yes.
classes.
Yes, for sure. So, what have you experienced now? Like, did you ever do a yoga teacher training?
I always wanted to, but I did not.
Why not? Just time.
I just a time constraint. That was
Yeah.
all it is. Just trying to pull away from the office. And now, as I find myself more comfortable in my legal practice, I'm like, no, this is what I want to prioritize. Like the me time, we will
Hmm.
work around like this hour that I need.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
it's not out of the cards.
Good. Good. I really feel like the more people that can deep dive into a quality 200-hour yoga teacher training, whether you decide to become a teacher or not, I think overall it helps everybody in different levels. Like for me, it helped me become a better communicator. The
Oh
way
yeah.
that I would tell my kids to do things. Yeah, I'm a nag, but I'm like, instead of saying like, you know, your shoes are on the floor. What are you going to do about it? I'm like, pick up your shoes, put them in the basket, give them clear, concise directions, action, verb, your body part in the direction you want them to go.
Yeah.
It just helped me so much to get clear. It helped me be more patient with myself. It helped me to understand that, I may be able to get, Hanumanasana, be in the splits, no problem because I'm bendy flexy, but holding, crow or something crazy like a handstand or some other inversion, I might not have that ability to hold it that still, right? Or be able to hit it for that long. So I feel like there's always ways that you can kind of learn from things that you can't do by showing others how they can do it.
Agreed. And again, just more concepts that I apply in my life is, when you are doing a full split and all I can do is get my knee, parallel to the rest of my body. And I'm kind of doing that, I don't know, like half pigeon or
Yeah.
something. And I'm not going to let comparison be the thief of joy here because
Yes.
feeling awesome. I might not look as cool as you and I can't get as far, but my body is like, this is great today, Erin Gamez. Like,
Hmm.
thank you for doing this. And so, like, that also applies in life.
Yes.
Don't look left and look right. Don't throw off your gaze because you're so focused on what somebody else is doing or saying next to you when you feel right, you
Yeah.
feel good. That we start to feel bad when we start to look left and look right and compare ourselves when
Yes.
none of that shit matters.
It
All
doesn't
that
matter at
matters
all. No, it doesn't matter at all. For me too, like you said earlier, like after COVID, like the imposter syndrome, and feeling kind of like this fear
oh, yeah.
of the unknown and like being able to like get up and speak publicly or even just, be around other people feeling comfortable and normal again. I feel like with me after COVID, touching in classes was stopped. We didn't offer hands-on
Yeah,
assists anymore.
you're right.
Yeah, it's like done. And even now, I just picked up a class at the club I teach at, and it's a yin class. And I haven't got to teach a slow yin class in forever because I've been teaching a lot more of
Good.
like the high energy, heated, flowy classes. And I love teaching the slow things, but people don't know my personality at a club like that because they're so used to seeing me like, you know, jamming out to music, high energy classes. So it's been so joyful for me to go and teach yin. And, I ask for consent before I touch in my classes. A
Of
lot
course.
of different places will have consent cards or, I give you the opportunity for saying yes or no to hands-on assist. And I'm not a like, old school yogi Ashtangi or somebody that's going to like come in and like push you into this pretzel position and shove your body and joints into different ways. But I'm going to come around and rub your hands. I might give you a
Yeah.
head rub. I might rub your shoulders,
That's
just
great.
some sort of touch. And I feel like, that is one benefit of yoga that not a lot of other modalities offer is that ability for touch in a way to support someone else, right? And it's such a beautiful gift to be able to offer touch in class. And I've had a lot of teachers over the past few years since COVID that have been like, I'm trying to get back into it. I'm out of practice. A lot of men are not very good. Like male teachers have said to me, like, I'm not really sure if I'm comfortable touching women. I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable.
Oh,
I'm like, stop. I'm like, your intention is to be a supportive, co-creator of an experience. It's only going to happen this one time. That's it. That class will never happen again. So if you want to make a difference in someone's life and you want to interact with someone in a way that's going to support their practice and their growth, touch is a great way to do it.
I completely agree. I think it's very, very hard. You see, and down here, we're starting to slowly see men trickle into the practice only because
Yeah.
you said they are so unsure.
Hmm.
It's a powerful, powerful feminine energy in this room more often than not. It's inexplicable.
Hmm.
And it is, I'm certain, very hard for some people to navigate through.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had a lot of men teachers that I've trained over the years that have said, like, I really want to offer assist. I see how powerful they are. I know how much they've impacted my practice. And I'm like, then why are you stopping yourself? Because you're not going in with the energy of like, oh, I'm gonna make this lady feel weird, give her this crazy assist. It's like you're gonna touch her in areas that are, safe or appropriate. You're going to put your hands on in a way that offers, not creepy fingers, but more of like a firm hand. And you're going to come in knowing that what you're doing for them and what you're doing for yourself is in the right mindset for them and for you.
And
Yeah, the
for sure.
intention for sure. And so it's neat because I've had a couple of guys that have been doing teacher trainings with me in the past and now are like huge hands on assists guys. And I love it. It makes me so passionate about, taking classes and going to experience different yogis. Like a lot of us, especially in the yoga community, we get into our little teams or our little houses like I'm Ashtanga, I'm Vinyasa, I'm Hatha, I'm Bikram. It's like we all want to hold on
Yeah.
to or say our way is the best way for us. That's fine. But I always say this too, like if you go to a studio and you take a class and you're not loving it, you don't have to stay with that one class. Try another class or go
Right.
down the street to the next studio or get online and do a video. Do something else, but don't give up on the practice just because one experience wasn't like mind blowing.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Well, I
Couldn't agree.
definitely think that you need to become a yoga teacher at some point.
Thank you. Well, I'm convinced that I would love to go try a class with you at one of your places.
Yes,
That sounds
definitely.
awesome.
And whenever you're up in San Antonio, you've got to come up and we'll definitely get you in and have you take a bunch of classes. I mean,
I'm
and I
so
say
excited.
this, I know I say this to all of our guests, but it's true. Like we have a bond because we love yoga and we know what it does for us and how good it makes us feel. And that's a bond that we'll have forever. We're friends for life.
Absolutely. It was a blessing to be able to do this with you and whatever, stars crossed in the universe to get us on the same page, I'm better and grateful for it.
Me too. And I want to make a trip to Brownsville and take a yoga class with you. So we will definitely be doing a road trip at some point. And whenever you're up in San Antonio, you always have a place to practice with us.
Thank you, Adrian.
This
That's
was so
beautiful.
fun.
Agreed.
Thank you so much for your time today. And I hope that our listeners really enjoyed listening to you. And if you have anything else that you want to share, do you want to share where people can follow you, your website, anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm grateful for everyone who took the time to listen to this. This has really been a blessing. You can check us out on Instagram. We are Gámez State Rep Texas 38, and we're on Facebook as the same thing. But please, if we need you now to tune in more than ever to what's going on at the state and federal level, and it is a blessing to be able to serve. So whatever I can do, we are here to help, and just know that we're doing all the work that we have to do to show up every day. So, and I'm grateful to the practice for helping us do this.
Me too. Thank you so much, Erin. You're an incredible inspiration to a lot of women. I'm really excited to see when and where you turn up in the yoga world too.
Thanks, Adrian. Take care.
All right. Thanks.